Hello guys, welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson is going to be the first lesson when it comes to digital imaging and photo editing. And in this lesson, I'm going to reintroduce to you raster graphics and vector graphics. Yes, I know we've done it before, but it is very essential that we talk about it now that we are going to head into digital imaging and photo editing. And also, we'll be talking about illustration later on. So when we talk about raster graphics are composed of a grid of individual pixels. So these pixels, when I say pixels, they are just a square, okay? A square with just one color. So these pixels are arranged in rows and columns to form an image. Now I'm going to show you an example in Photoshop. So I'm going to open an image here from my downloads here and show you an example here. So let me use this image. So I drag this image here, and when I zoom in and I continue to zoom in, at this point you realize that this picture is made up of squares with one color. So each square has its own color, and all these come together to form this one image. So that is the raster graphics. Yes, that is the raster graphics. And one thing about raster graphics is that it loses its quality as you begin to stretch it, as you begin to reduce the size. Okay, so for this particular image, if I should reduce the size, you realize that it will become very blur. Let me reduce the size over here. So I reduce the size, let's say 500 by 300, and let me do it 50. Okay, let's see. Now look at it. So this is what happens to raster graphics. You see, raster graphics, they lose quality as you stretch it or as you reduce the size. All right, that is raster graphics. Take note. So most images that will be dealing with are raster images. Okay, and we are going to talk about the vector graphics. So vector graphics are composed of mathematical formulas and paths that define shapes, lines, and curves. So instead of the pixels, they use points, lines, and curves to represent images. Okay, and with the vector graphics, they do not lose quality, or they do not become blur or pixelated when you stretch it or when you reduce the size. All right, when you stretch it or reduce the size, they do not lose their quality, and they maintain their quality. That is why it is advisable that most logo designs are done in vector graphics. Okay, so let me show you an example in Illustrator. So an example of a vector graphic is this image you have here in Illustrator. So I zoom in and keep zooming in, and you will never find that it is made up of pixels or boxes. All right, you realize that the quality is still maintained. Right, the quality is still maintained no matter what you do to this. The quality is still maintained. That is why it is advisable. So you realize that these are all shapes, right? It's made up of shapes. So this is just, a circle, and this is also a circle with a different color. This is also a circle with a different color, right? So the vector graphics doesn't lose its quality as you begin to zoom in, or as you stretch it big, wide, or so sometimes we call it scalable vector graphics, SVG. All right, SVG. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson under raster graphics and vector graphics. See you in our next lesson.